What happens to your visa when your sponsor's license is revoked? If you're a skilled worker migrant and your employer's sponsor license is revoked, what happens? Solicitor Kudus here, founder of Hairs and Her Solicitors. Now, essentially, this is something that is happening now because there are lots of small employers, unfortunately, who are not very experienced. There are huge compliance requirements, responsibilities and duties that the sponsors have to keep to. Now, if they do not keep to these responsibilities, what happens is they would have their sponsor license revoked. Now, what happens to the skilled worker migrant? While in the UK, you can keep an eye on the sponsor register to ensure that your sponsor is still on the register. Now, if you are in country and your sponsor's license is revoked, you are given some time. You will be given 60 days for you to adjust your status, for you to switch to a different category. Now, whether you do that or not, at least you have some time to try to address the situation. But what happened with my client recently, he's gone out of the UK on holidays and was coming back to the UK, and the border force stopped for random check and found that his employer's sponsor license had been revoked. And not only that, he found out my client, since coming to the UK, he's been in the UK for 4 months. His employer had offered him only 7 hours of employment. Now, what this means is he's been working 15 hours elsewhere as supplementary employment. But of course, his main employment, which is supposed to be full-time, is not there. So the vacancy was not genuine. So he was refused entry into the UK and I got a phone call. So we're dealing with that now. So what I'm saying essentially in this video is that there are things that you as a skilled worker migrant, you cannot control. But while you are in the UK, ensure that you are meeting your side of the deal, which is that you're doing the job. And if you're doing supplementary employment, you're not exceeding 20 hours. But I understand that obviously, if your main employer cannot provide you with the hours that the certificate of sponsorship stipulated that you would have on entering the UK or while you're in the UK, then obviously your employer is not meeting one of their duties. Now, it is very common nowadays with small employers. They employ staff and they do not have enough vacancies. They do not have enough working hours to offer. So these vacancies are not genuine according to the interpretation of the Home Affairs. That may lead to a revocation of the sponsor license. Like I said, that has happened a lot. And for the employee, for the skilled worker migrant, there is very little you can do. But I think what you should be doing is, firstly, keep an eye on the sponsor register to ensure that your employer is still on the register. If you find that your employer is not on the register, then obviously you can do something about it. Secondly, I know if you're going abroad on holidays and your sponsor's license is revoked with immediate effect, there's very little you can do about it. Your skilled worker visa at risk because you're not living in compliance with immigration rules. So there is no point traveling abroad in order to return to the UK because in the first place, your residency in the UK is precarious. Your residency in the UK is shaky. So you've got to sort that out before you think about going abroad. So the case of my client is not unique. It happens a lot up and down the country. So if you need more on this, send me an email.